unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time. If I told you that every single person in Hollywood was evil, would you think I was fair? Or if I told you, every single person in the KKK was evil. Oh, that's different though, right? Every single Nazi was evil. Every single Jew, every single black person, every single white person, every single member of the WEF. Wait, hold on. WEF. That's evil. There's no way you can be in the WEF and be not evil. Or the WHO, or the FBI, or the Democrats, or the Republicans. Every single Republican, every single Democrat, I'm being a jackass here for a reason. And it's because life isn't as easy as, how we try to make it. And I admit that I struggle with this because certainly it is easier. I watched this channel on YouTube. It got somehow on my recommendations list of this card counter, he's got a group they work as a team, but they go to Vegas and they play blackjack and they're card counters. And it's really interesting because really, blackjack is a game that if you understand the probability, you can get yourself an advantage. As you know, Vegas works in odds, and the odds are always in favor of the house. That's how they build these crazy hotels and all that shit. They just got to they'll pay out money. If you put a certain amount of money into a slot machine, it will give you a certain amount back. Over time, it will never be more than the amount that you put in. Duh. AKA, you're stupid for putting any money into a slot machine. Unless you just got nothing to do with your time and you like feeding machines, But, with blackjack, there's only so many cards in a deck, and the math works out that if you figure out what the probability is of a card coming up, all you got to do is give yourself a slight edge, And if you understand what your slight edge is, then you can win lots of money. And these guys do that, and they get kicked out, and they wear disguises and blah, blah, blah. And it looks like a fun life for these guys, because nothing that they're doing is illegal, Of course, casinos can kick you out. They don't have to do business with you if they're losing money on you. Just like you don't have to go into a casino, they don't have to. It's all fair, So they wear these disguises and they do all this other shit. And they work as a team and they make a bunch of money by getting a very slight edge over the casino. Now, that's, of course, if you apply that to what I'm talking about, sometimes you can get a slight edge by classifying this or that group of people as all evil or all good. Because if you take a group like Hollywood and you say, well, certainly not all of them are evil, but the concept, even if you just go, it's 51% evil. over time, that little edge, that 51%, can create a lot of problems. Now, I can apply this to Jewish people, black people, white people, Nazis, whatever group you want to classify as good or evil. It can be very functional to just go, well, I'm not going to deal with that group. I'm not going to walk through this neighborhood. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. So it's functional. I'm not going to sit here and get on a soapbox and say that racists or bigots or anything, this idea that racism and bigotry and discrimination are also terrible is like, okay, I get why you would say that, because it certainly feels like that when you're on the receiving end of it. You might be one of the good ones in whatever class we're talking about, So you don't want to be treated like one of the bad ones. But you got to remember that it's just more functional for that person to just like deal with you as one of the bad ones, because they got other shit to do. Everybody doesn't have the time for nuance. But I'm here to say, maybe you do. Maybe it is better to just be nuanced. Maybe it is better to just go, well, not all of XYZ group are bad. Most are. Some are. It's like that recording I made the other day about none of your problems are because another person is a billionaire. How about few of your problems? Most of your problems are not because someone else is a billionaire. It takes up the same amount. It's still 4 letters, same amount of letters. Most of your problems are not because someone else is a billionaire. Done. There you go. That's a rational statement. But none, no, Anyway, let's go to, I have this Facebook friend who I met one time up in Washington. Nice guy, attorney, smart guy. But he has this habit, and I don't know why, but he has this habit of, he always just sends me bad news. My inbox, if he sends me a thing, it's like, bad news, somebody complaining about the world or how we're being taken over. Elon Musk is evil. Trump is evil. Trump's one of them. He's one of them. He's part of the WEF. He's a globalist. He aligns with Israel. Beware, beware. He's a bad one, So says Nick Fuentes, And I just think, okay. And each time it's like, it gets my brain racing. Like maybe, somebody. It's like somebody comes to you and says, "I got some information about your wife. She's plotting to kill you." Wait, what? Hold on. At first you gotta, and then you gotta assess it. You go, First of all, I'm not married, so you're wrong. You know what I mean? But yeah, it can get you this guilt by association kind of a thing, And I want to get into the WEF, In this particular thing that he sent me this morning, it shows all these different things where Musk aligns with Klaus Schwab, Some of them are, one of them was universal basic income. What else? Well, let's just talk about that one. That sounds on its face to be communism or something. Not really, but kind of, But if you take it from a perspective of somebody who builds robots, and first of all, when we say robots, let's be clear. You're using robots. We've been using robots for a long time. A washing machine is a robot. A printing press is a robot. Any kind of, a tractor, a robot. A car, a robot. A camera is a robot. We've been using robots for a long time. Robots simplify certain tasks. A tool is a robot. A wrench is a robot. Okay? So we've been using robots for a long time. Robots have made, allegedly, this is a value decision, but have made our lives simpler, or at least made jobs easier to accomplish. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not going to say. But we use them all the time. But let's say robots, if somebody is a visionary and they think into the future, they think, maybe we can get robots to make everything simple. Maybe we can have them accomplish all the jobs that we don't like. A lot of jobs we don't like. How about a robot to clean out the sewer? Okay, great. How about a robot to put out a fire? Okay. Weed the garden. All right. Pick all the fruit off the trees. Climb a building. Do all kinds of things that are unsafe and unfun and unenjoyable for humans. Vacuum. Oh, we got the vacuuming robots already. Wash the clothes. Clean the toilet. Get a robot to do it. All right. Sounds good to me. How much does a robot cost? Well, actually, they're getting cheaper because, they're just really hunks of metal, if you think about it. We can make them cheap. What about get them to do truck drivers? We always think of truck drivers because truck driving is a thankless job, Oh, what if we get a robot to do it and then Dad can stay home? He doesn't have to go across the country driving. But the truck drivers need jobs. If we have a choice and we don't have to drive a truck or we don't have to work in a factory on an assembly line, are these jobs really emotionally rewarding for us? Waking up and going to the factory, Laverne and Shirley, Anyway, so that's a value judgment. People can argue about that all day long. But meanwhile, a lot of people are thinking, God, I wish I had a robot to do everything so I could just, putz around in my yard and grow vegetables and have free time for my family and make art and music and all that other shit. Okay, anyway, so people are working on that. But what happens if robots become so cheap that all these jobs are replaced? We can see them being replaced. Well, what do you do with all the people that don't have jobs anymore? Okay. So the discussion about universal basic income isn't irrational. It's just part of a way of thinking, problem solving. Well, this is a potential problem. Well, this is a potential solution. Whether you agree with the solution or not, that's different. But to act like it's just, you can't discuss it, and the fact that it exists and it looks similar to communism of days of old means that, that's already been decided, it doesn't work. Really? It already was decided about robots and technology that hasn't been invented, that's already been decided, it's already been done before? Well, no, it hasn't, because everything is new. Oh, but it's not new, it's communism, it's the same. Okay, I don't think it is the same. It might be very much like it, and we might not want it the same way. A lot of the arguments might still apply. But just, again, it's not dealing with nuance might be practical. It might be practical to just go, that looks similar. You look like this kind of person, and we have a sign up here that says nobody but our class in here. That might be practical. It's not that fun for me, though. I prefer the nuance. I prefer just going, this is different. This is a different thing. And maybe you can call me an ignorant fool. You would not be wrong. You would be absolutely right to call me an ignorant fool. But you could say that about Elon Musk, and you could say that about Klaus Schwab, and you can say that about Donald Trump, and you can say that about Jimmy Carter. You can say that about anybody. So nuance is kind of important. It can be helpful to just be black and white. It can make things simple, but I don't think you actually... The thing about card counting is you have to be good at it. That's the thing, it's a skill. You have to know a lot of rules and you have to stay on your game, right? So while I'm using that as an example of hedging your bets and creating an advantage, it requires knowledge and patience and skill. And that's what I'm trying to say is, what about developing the skills to look at things in a nuanced way? I get in trouble all the time because that's just kind of my automatic thing, is to defend whoever's being attacked. Doesn't matter how bad they might be. Harvey Weinstein. Surely I should have hopped on the bandwagon with that one, right? He's this grotesque looking guy. He's in Hollywood. He's a pervert, blah, blah, blah. And I hop on to defend him, because I see these women as being willing participants. They want Oscars. He's kind of ugly. He figured out an edge. If I can make movies and make people and project their images on faces on screens and distribute them and give them gold trophies, which people want so much and we don't know why, but they do. People want a gold trophy. If I can do that, then maybe women will love me. Maybe I can experience intimacy the way George Clooney does. Maybe my options will grow. I don't know. You don't have a Harvey Weinstein fiasco if he's as handsome as George Clooney. Let's be honest. So yeah, I defend Harvey Weinstein. And I kind of do that. I kind of reserve the right, like I've said, as I have maintained very high double standards. I maintain the right to call people evil. But when I hear other people do it, I don't like it. Because it's so simplistic. It's so simplistic to just decide in a binary way if somebody's good or evil. If somebody is good or evil, that's the problem. It's not so hard to decide if something is good or evil. Clearly, aggressing and being violent to steal something from somebody else is evil. Making people's lives in any way, causing pain on somebody else when they've done nothing to you, that's evil. Influencing people to be less human, diminishing the miracle of life, that's evil, right? But good people do evil things. You do evil things. I do evil things. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. What we want to do is get the advantage. We need to hedge our bets and get more good than we are evil. And when we look at people, even the evil ones, you got to go, well, what's good about them? Is there something good? Is there a way that we can turn that dial and get this person to be more good than evil? Or is it easier to just, hang the noose and be done with them. Genocide the whole group. Root and stem. That's simplistic. And to me, that's evil. Not looking at the picture of a whole, not noticing the miracle in everything. That's when you tip towards evil. When you look at a person, a human being, and you think that person is all evil. I don't know. These are the teachings that kind of stick in my craw about Christianity. I just think, and maybe Christianity is a big joke that Jews played on the rest of us to keep us busy. There's a theory about that. It's pretty good, actually. But, you see the examples of Jesus not, or at least the way I've been taught, the way I was taught is that you judge not lest you be judged. And that's kind of a matter of fact kind of a thing. Not, and you will be judged. And we will find out where you don't pass a litmus test. None of you listening will pass a purity test. We'll find it. We'll find the bad thing you've done, the evil deed. Maybe not all of you. Actually, some of you might be perfect. I don't know. Sometimes it seems that way. Sometimes I find people and I just go, wow, they really seem to have never done anything wrong. That's crazy. But yeah, might be true. Maybe there are saints among us, angels among us, but I don't really see it because when I apply scrutiny to anybody, I seem to find out, your shit stinks too. Amazing. You're human, just like everybody else. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is with this guy that sends me these messages is like, it's just kind of a loser way to think that, these people are evil and they're in control and they will always be in control and they're evil and we need to fight them. We need to fight these people rather than going, okay, these are people and they have a tendency, a potential to be good and a potential to be evil. And they, like you, can be influenced to do good or evil. Why do we always look at them? I think this is what I think is very loser thinky, and it's to look at anybody else as an influencer rather than a person that can be influenced. I think the smart way to look at things is to go, how can I influence that person to be good? Can you influence Elon Musk? Can you influence Donald Trump? Can you influence Klaus Schwab? I get it. This sounds stupid. I get it, okay? But I think maybe you can. I think together, people, if every individual decides to just be an influence, if we realize we can influence, I look at Musk, I look at Trump, I look at some of these people and I look at them as being human beings that are very susceptible to the same things that we're susceptible to. I look at Trump and I think, this is a guy that to me looks like he has been influenced by his voters. That his life, hotels, beauty pageants, game shows, all that, everything he does seems to be that he wants to be a people pleaser. That people pleasing and entertainment are part of his genetic makeup. And so he's always gauging, well, what do the people want? And he sort of crafts around that. I don't think that's bad, unless he's pleasing people for their evil. If you're indulging people's tendency to be bad, that's not so good. But if your people are influencing you to be good, maybe that's good. Elon too. So when I see people immediately, When somebody's trying to do good and say, you are evil, you are terrible, you are bad, does that pull them in to you? Or does that push them away from you? And this is the thing that, where, I kind of get into this thing, well, countries and nations get what they deserve. Ultimately it's about the people. Are the people, are the individual people doing good, or are they being bad? And a large group of people can be, again, nudged towards evil or nudged towards good. And sometimes I look at the overall behavior of the people, of the population, and I think, well, it's the population. They can influence too. You can. If we don't take responsibility for ourselves to become part of the nudging process and nudging towards good, and we have to be careful that we're not nudging people to be evil. You know what I mean? That's why these things like collectivist, any kind of collectivist behavior, when you judge a whole group, you're really just creating enemies for yourself. You're nudging people away from good possible ideologies. You're pushing them into a defensive position. And there's a thing, I don't think we behave as rationally when we're defending ourselves. When we're backed into a corner, I don't think we act as, I think we start getting into fight or flight mode, which isn't super clear-headed. Anyway, we can do that to Donald Trump. We can do that to Elon Musk. We can do that to any number of different people. We can do that to Hollywood. We can do that to Jews. We can do that to black people. We can do that to white people, Mexicans, whatever. Our individual behavior affects whether those things are nudged towards good or nudged towards evil. I think. That's what it seems like to me. My experience in life has been that fairness and nuance kind of work. I don't know if you can tell that I'm not offering a total solution here. It's just a nudge. That's all we're dealing with here. We're dealing with very thin margins, as they might say in the casino things, But that slight advantage over time means something, And that slight advantage requires nuance. I don't think that the simplistic way of just categorizing all of Hollywood as bad, all of this is bad, all of these people are bad, that just becomes, where does that stop? Because first of all, no person survives purity testing. So if no person can survive purity testing, then how the hell does a collective survive it? There's no way it does. Which of course is one argument against collectivism completely. And that's why you got to go for individualism. That's why I'm a radical individualist. But I get it. I get you critics saying that the individualism is a tool of the evil groups. If you can keep people from uniting and getting together and fighting, then if you can get them all isolated in individualistic little silos, I get it. That's a compelling argument, But I can't think of any other way to acknowledge the miracle of existence and individual human consciousness, autonomy, and just there's no other way to break it down that doesn't seem evil, You have to go with the individual. If the individual doesn't have the value, then nothing has value. You know? If $1 is worth nothing, then $1 million is worth nothing 1,000,000 times. You know? The emphasis has to be placed on the individual, and the individual is subject to the rules of reality. They can be nudged towards good or evil, you know? Or they can be executed. That's another way to deal with it. And the practicality of that's, might be practical. Doesn't seem practical to me. And messy. Come on, it's messy. That's messy. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make, and this is just a challenge, and this is a challenge for me especially. Again, most of these recordings that I make, if you imagine me looking in the mirror, you're not far off. A lot of this is giving myself advice, because I'm the biggest breaker of any rule that I ever make. And most of the time when I establish a rule, it's to govern my own behavior, because you'll see me. If you look up my wall, you'll see me calling people evil and making absolutist statements that are retarded, I need this advice, but part of the advice is, can you communicate in a way that you will nudge? That's the key, is how do you do it? How do you nudge someone towards good or evil? How do you do it? I think you have to be patient. I think you have to exercise empathy. And I know I sound like a hippie when I say this shit, but I think you do have to find the goodness in others, and you have to massage it and highlight it and champion it. You have to support. It's not good enough to just be a critic, to simply say bad, wrong, evil. That can be part of it, because you do need to identify evil when it exists, but if you attach that evil to a human, you say evil human, evil person. If you call a person evil, especially if a person doesn't think they're evil, what are the chances you're going to turn them around? I don't know. Maybe good. I don't know, actually. Maybe it's good to say, you are evil. Maybe that gets somebody's attention. I don't know. But sometimes I think it's better to just go, what you're doing is evil. Or even better than that, maybe instead of focusing on the evil act, offer an alternative. Support something. You go, I hear what you're saying, but here's an idea. What do you think about this idea? What do you think about this? Offer a solution. Offer something that's not evil. Well, here's a good suggestion. I have an idea. What about this? Then you totally divert the attention away from the evil thing and onto something that's good. Support. This is what I've been trying to say to a lot of my friends. And again, looking in the mirror when I say this, it's easy to criticize. It's easy to knock shit down. To say, that's bad, that's terrible, that stinks. What takes a little bit more time and attention is to support the good things. If you find that you're not supporting things, that you're not offering support to things in whatever fight it is, then you're probably not as much of an asset as you might think you are. Anyway, this is getting too long. You get the idea. Just try to, if you're going to influence, maybe try to be a good influence. I don't know. That's all. Thanks for listening.